We also have May from Price Gas, Mindanao. Yan. So while you all are typing, we'd love to engage you in a quick, hindi mo quick, pero a check-in question. I'm sure that you've been seeing this on TikTok. And very related siya dun sa topic natin today. Because, di ba, we are trying to learn how to manage our mental load because we're doing or we're working for something greater than ourselves. So, we'd love for you to complete the phrase, holding it together because I'm not sure kung nakikita nyo to sa TikTok, sa Instagram, or even on Facebook. But we'd love to know and we'd love to celebrate. Okay, what gives you meaning? Bakit ba kayo nagtatrabaho? Or why are you all trying to carry that load in life? Okay, so let's see. Yan. Ang cute ng mga answers. Nafe-feel ko na nakakatuwa yung mga answers nyo. Okay, so while we're waiting for everyone to put in their answers, I'd read some of the answers in the chat box. So Charmaine is sharing that she's from SAS and BSU. So Charmaine, maybe you can give us the long form of that so we'd also know what that acronym is. So we have Elena from Polar Steel Systems Corporation. We have Mia, who's from White Cloak. Darius from KMC Community. So Alisa is from Lucena City and she's taking up BS Psychology. We also have Levita, who is a librarian from ULS Santiago City, Isabela. So grabe, that's from far north here in Luzon. So si Menelin, shinare niya, this is her first time attending the webinar and feel niya makaka-relate siya dito. Yes, alam niyo super relatable yung topic natin this afternoon and I hope you can still call on your colleagues that they can still join us. Our Zoom room has 1,000 seats open for everyone, or if hindi kaya ng data and ng Wi-Fi, you can join us on YouTube as well. Okay, so let's check your answers. Gusto ko yung unang-unang answer. Oh, hold on. Yung unang... Hold on, let me refresh that. Sige, let's do this again. There you go. So, road to rich tita in the future. I know this too shall pass. Yung iba, because I need money. Diba? That's, parang for a lot of us, that's really our purpose, diba? For getting meaningful work. So we also have career transitions are hard. May nagsabi salary, peers, colleagues, and company. So we're trying to complete the phrase, holding it together because I'm already a graduating student. Ayan, kasi hindi pa ako nakakapunta ng Japan, diba? Our travel goals or our motivation as well. So holding it together because I work hard and stay safe for my family. So we do this for the glory of God, yes. Diba? For Filipinos, we really have that high level of spirituality. And so keep your answers coming in. We're gonna start in a few minutes. Again, do let us know if there are still people from your team, your friends, your colleagues who need to hear the message or the discussion we have this afternoon. So we have representatives from John Dale from National Center for Mental Health. Si Hezekiah pala galing siya ng PSTD. And Vistaprint Manila. So we also have Jean joining us from Pioneer Adhesive Incorporated from Laguna. Ayan. So, meron din si Maureen from Jose B. Lingad Memorial General Hospital. So, it's really nice to see that a lot of different workplaces, industries are here. We're seeing people from the government, from non-government organizations, and from private organizations. Ayan, merong mga nasa McKinley West. Okay, so let's start at 3:05. Keep your answers coming. I usually think of work and what new places I can visit or travel to have work-life balance. So holding it together because there are still goals they need to achieve to get better than they were yesterday. Ano pa? For some of us, we really try to make the best of every day. Ayan, seize the day. Maraming travel. I need the diploma. Walang choice. And I have to pay bills. Totoo, totoo. We hear you. Okay, we have a minute left. Keep your answers coming in. And you can definitely share with us where you're calling from this afternoon. So we also have Previa joining us from Don Carlos Bukidnon. Jesselyn says that she's calling from Milan, Italy. We also have Fidelin calling in from Naval, Biliran. Okay, yung iba hindi ko na alam kung saan yun, kung saang parte yun ng Pilipinas. Do let me know if it's in Visayas or Mindanao. Okay, so it's 3:05. I guess we're okay to start. So hold on to that Menti link because we're gonna use it through the entire presentation this afternoon. Again, you can still call on your colleagues, your friends, and let them know that we still have room here in our meeting this afternoon. Okay, so again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last webinar for this month. Under the theme, the Positive Leaders Toolkit, the power of positive connections and communications. And for those of you joining us for the first time today, I'm Gabby, and I'm the Learning and Development Officer of Positive Workplaces. Together with me this afternoon is Mary, our intern, our Learning and Development intern, and we also have Joyce, our Learning and Development Associate, guiding you in the chat box, sharing the links, and letting you have that seamless learning experience. So we are all from Positive Workplaces, and our mission is that we co-create cultures that enhance the well-being of the Filipino workforce. And we do that through what we call the positivity ripples. And we believe that it all starts by leading yourself. So when you are able to attend webinars like this one, or halimbawa kayo, you're taking on your learning journey, diba? You get different materials or you try out different projects at work. That's when you are able to lead yourself, and whatever you learn, you're also able to share with others. And that creates the culture inside your organization. And that's how you create that positive workplace. So just a few reminders before we head on to our main topic. We hope that you have another device or be ready to join another link so that you will be able to participate in our discussion this afternoon. And if you have a paper and pen ready, that would also be great because I'm sure you're going to need them to take note of the discussion or the points that will be raised this afternoon. And we highly encourage participation in the chat, but please be respectful, as we've been seeing in the previous webinars. And yes, we do issue certificates at the end of the webinar, but you first have to answer the evaluation form. So they will be issued at the end after wala po tayong attendance sheet. So you just have to wait for the evaluation link that will be sent at the end of the webinar. So be mindful of 10, the title, the email that you will put in, and the name that you will type, because our certificates are auto-generated. So whatever you type, yun po yung lalabas at dun po ipapadala yung certificate ninyo. So if you have any concerns or in your evaluations or certificates, do email us at engage@positiveworkplaces.com, and we will only be entertaining inquiries up to 1 week after the event. Okay? So, grabe, it's been 3 weeks. Parang 2 weeks na tayong magkakasama for those who have been with us the whole March. Can you type in 2 if you've attended both webinars already? If you've attended Jen's and David's webinar. Actually, may surprise ako sa inyo. May surprise ako sa inyo kasi katabi ko actually dito yung webinar speaker natin from last week. So I'm gonna ask if he wants to say hi. David. Hindi ko na nga alam kung nasa yung ano. I think I lost the screen. Ayan. So we have David joining us here.
Everyone.
Not sure if you can see him. You can see. Ayan, si
Carmina.
Carmina says hi. Mia says hi as well. Ayan. So we have, ang daming nag-attend, David. They were able to attend your webinar last week.
Latte art.
Yan.
Bye. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we started off this theme. Okay, ang unang nilagay natin sa toolkit natin is yung pakikipag-ugnayan. So Jen taught us how we are able to establish relationships or deepen our conversations at work. And then David showed us how to build rapport and trust using coaching skills. So, dun po mapasok yung tinanong si David, ano yung tinuro mo? May naalala ba kayo dun sa mga tinuro ni David? Maybe you can share it in our chat box.
Oh, yeah. Titignan ko.
Ayan, may natutunan ba kayo dun sa... Grabe, hello po, Sir David na lang yung nalagay nila. What do... Yan. So we have listen actively, zero judgment, and really ask those questions. Yeah, actually kahit yung tatlo lang yung ma-apply nyo, sobrang helpful na yan to build rapport and trust. And syempre, part of having connections in the workplace, 'di ba, is carrying different loads because of the different roles and the different hats that we play. 'Di ba? Sabi nga natin, minsan hindi enough yung isang trabaho for us to be able to reach higher salary or higher positions. We need to study more, we need to do certifications. But at the same time, we also try to balance everything else in our lives. That's why our topic this afternoon is carrying the invisible burden, understanding the mental load, and how to manage it well. And we'd like to welcome our resource speaker this afternoon, Joanne Stephanie Fillard, MPRSI, co-founder of Nurturing Connections, and she is also a licensed psychologist. So Joy, hi Joy, good afternoon.
Hi, Gabby. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Hello. Maraming salamat sa pag-join. I know that it's Holy Wednesday and it's almost, the long weekend ahead. So I really do appreciate everyone being here. So hopefully we can all learn together, this afternoon. Ayan. So Gabby, are we starting?
Yeah. You can go ahead, Joy.
Sige, let me just share my screen. I hope everyone is ready, and I see, a lot of answers in the chat box, a lot of engagement. So aasahan po natin yan the rest of the afternoon. So hopefully we learn a lot, no? And so let me pull up my screen. I hope everybody can see it. And then I'll also be pulling up the chat box para I can follow along your questions or comments. All right, thank you for letting me know. So, as Gabby was saying, there's a lot going on for everyone. I think no matter whether you're working, you're a student, you're I don't know, a stay-at-home mom, you are the breadwinner, whatever roles that you have, we all have a lot on our plates. Okay? And so when Gabby and I were conceptualizing our topic, ito yung pumasok, no? And then, of course, dumiretso na rin ako sa topic without actually introducing myself, which I realized just now. So let me introduce myself first. So my name is Joy. It's Joanne Fillert, but you can call me Joy. And who am I? As Gabby mentioned, I am a licensed psychologist. So my background is really in psychology. And I'm also an educator. So I also teach part-time psychology as well. And I am a mom as well. So parang I wear so many hats. And so recently also we founded our company. It's called Nurturing Connections. And perhaps I can tell you more about it at the end of this webinar, so that you can also get to know me better. So yun, having said that, let's start with an activity first. Related very much to our topic. So it's also on the Menti platform that Gabby had you do kanina. So maybe we can do that first. I have a question for everybody. Let me have Gabby pull up the Menti. Yeah, so hopefully everybody has access to Mentimeter. I just have a simple question, no? What are some thoughts? They can be statements, questions that enter your mind on a daily basis. So yung napapansin nyo kahit nakaupo lang kayo, biglang may papasok na thought, ano kaya yon? No? Ano yung mga usual questions that pop up that you notice throughout your day-to-day life? So I see one response. It says here, what would my day be like? No? That's a valid question. I assume that's at the start of your day. We also have responses, about mga existential, right? So even as you're going about your day, you think about your existence, no? If you're being productive, you also think about all the chores that need to be done. I see somebody responded, clean, clean, clean. No? Ako rin po, lagi nasa isip ko yan. Meron yung, when will I work on my own company? Yes, so even as you're doing your day-to-day life, you think about the future. That's very true. Some would also think about their performance. So yung mga, did I do well? No? Even thoughts like, medyo nakakatamad na. Yes, pumapasok din yan sa araw-araw. No? And so, it's very varied. Ayan, iiyak ba tayo today? Nako, everyday din po talaga natin. Ako personally, lagi ko din yan iniisip. No? Money is on your mind. Ano yung uulamin pag uwi? Very true. I see one question. Am I giving myself enough rest? That's a very, very valid question. Ayan, so keep them coming in. So if you notice, yung nature ng mga questions natin, they're very different, right? And this is how our mind works, no? Generally, lahat ng naiisip natin, kung ano-ano, minsan they just pop up out of nowhere. Chances are, there are also times when we think of something na hindi natin napapansin but it pops up anyway, right? And then ultimately, mapapansin mo na lang yan when you're like in the middle of a difficult task. And then, bakit ko ba ito iniisip ngayon, no? Like, kung pwede lang, you can push thoughts out of your mind, no? And so, that's the nature of the mental load, right? And I see a lot, no? Meron yung, am I prioritizing the right task? Correct. How can I improve? So, there are people who think about the blessings that they have, no? As simple as food, what will you eat? All of these things come into play, no? So thank you for sharing your responses. And I think if you looked at all of your responses, what you notice nga is parang ang dami, right? And all of them streaming in like that kind of symbolizes how it is in our mind as well. So for me, no, parang ito yung nakita ko years ago na hanggang ngayon, parang I still like using as the representation of the mental load. Hindi ko alam kung nakaka-relate kayo dito, pero ako oo talaga. So it says here, my mind is like an internet browser. 17 tabs are open, 4 of them are frozen, and I don't know where the music is coming from. So if you're like me, na parang sobrang daming nangyayari on a day-to-day basis with all of your roles, all of your hats that you wear, chances are there's so many, parang if you think of your mind as your computer screen with all of your tabs, no? Sometimes bigla kang may maiisip and like nasaang tab ulit yon, and then you have to go and click it, and then nasaan, mali, hindi yan yung hinahanap ko, no? And then mamaya konti may music na nagpa-play, tapos di mo rin alam where it's coming from. And so I think a lot of people can relate to that, no? And it's funny, no? Pero parang it's sad at the same time, no? That I think some of us go through this. And to some, there may be fewer tabs. Siguro merong lucky enough to have maybe just like 1 or 2 tabs open. May iba kaya nila more than 17. Yung iba siguro 50 tabs yan open tapos hindi frozen. No? And so what I would like to point out now pa lang when we talk about the mental load is that it's very different for everybody. No? The capacity, the threshold we have to hold information in our mind is very different, and it really varies per person. Tulad nga ni sabi ni Miss Alessia, running past a Firefox, no? So sometimes maybe yung iba dyan may Google Chrome, yung iba Internet Explorer, no? Laos na yon, yung iba Firefox, di ba? So parang I think it all depends on the capacity we have, and to some there may be so much going on, to some not so much, but dun sa mga fewer things going on, we don't want to discredit them, no, for having less things to think about, because sometimes for them that's already a lot, right? And so the big question right now is, what is the mental load? And let's be a little bit more parang technical here and try to define it, right? And so the way I see it personally, the mental load is challenging to talk about because of the idea that it's somehow very abstract or parang intangible siya. No? It's not like when you talk about certain things that you see right in front of you, or you can hold, or you can smell, or you can touch, right? For the mental load, it's more of just a self-narrative, right? It's there, it's invisible, it's somewhere in the recesses of your mind, and usually it keeps going on, right? About so many different things. And ultimately, it's about things that you need to keep life going. Yung tipong, if I stop thinking about this, if I don't think about this, then maybe my life will fall apart, right? And maybe parang people around me will not survive. They need me, so I have to keep going. Okay? So it's the things you tell yourself, kaya siya self-narrative. It can also be seen as your list of tasks, everything that goes on in your life, the things that you need to do. And more often than not, it's not just for yourself. Of course, marami tayong iniisip na para sa atin talaga, no? Pero meron ding mga times na you're also thinking about everyone else in your life, no? Especially, this is especially true for, let's say, breadwinners or people who are, heads of their family, bosses in the workplace, no, you're an employer. So sometimes you have a lot of people in your life that you need to consider. And the big difficulty of the mental load, and I think why a lot of us like this topic, or at least want to talk about this topic, is that it's invisible, it's unlimited, and it's unpaid work. And so if you think about that, parang ang unfair naman, no? If I do my job, I get paid, no? But for the mental load, it's still work, but we don't get paid for it. It's unlimited. It comes in ultimately, dire-diretso, di ba? And then it's invisible, right? And we can't really touch it, and we can't pinpoint it, right? And that's very difficult. And the challenge also is that it affects all areas of our lives. Okay, so sometimes you're dealing with work, di ba? And you're carrying a lot on your mind. And then all of a sudden, things from home come into the picture. May tatawag from bahay na may nangyari, biglang may emergency, no? And so it parang seeps into all the areas of our lives. And I think that's the ultimate difficulty. And so that's also why we want to talk about it today. Okay? And so the big difficulty too with the mental load is usually we think mental, it's all cognitive. It's stuff we think about. But it's actually three-pronged, no? You have your cognitive labor, or the toll it takes on your mind. You also have your emotional labor and the physical labor, which we'll talk about later. So cognitive labor, this is very, I think, straightforward for a lot of people. Pag sinasabi nating mental load, di ba? It's thinking about things, right? And for everyone here, I heard from Gabby na iba-iba yung attendees, no? We have employees, we have students who haven't joined the workforce yet. I think most of us have families, no? And so everybody, we have a lot on our plate. And usually the cognitive labor involves anticipating needs. whether it's for your work, for school, for family, whatever is in your life, no, there's always some sort of anticipation. Ano kayang kailangan today? Or hindi nga lang today, sometimes, ano kailangan bukas, di ba? Ano kailangan next week? Ano kailangan the week after or next year and things like that. And after you identify your needs, okay, you anticipate them na, now you have to go a step further, identify options that can meet these needs, di ba? Sometimes we think it's so easy. You can just think about it and then done na yan. No? But there are so many invisible steps that happen along the way. Isa na yan, after you identify options na, okay, maybe yung simple example of what is for dinner. No? Ano kaya yung dinner ng pamilya ko mamaya? I anticipate the needs. Dinner time. Okay, ano yung options? Pwedeng mag-take out, pwede ako magluto, pwede ako magpaluto muna sa iba kasi hindi ko kaya today, right? So you identified na. And then after that, okay, but which of the following options work best, diba? So you have to choose pa from the options. And then you ultimately have to make a decision that you think is best. And then after, kalaw natin done na, but usually you still have to monitor the outcomes, no? What will happen after? If mag-take out kami, magastos na naman. Kailangan na naman mag-save or hindi na naman masustansya, no? Unless magluto na lang kaya ako. Pero, and this self-narrative, the talk you have with yourself, that's the mental load essentially, no? And so that is a simple example what to have for dinner, but you can apply this to so many other things, diba? Kunyari, kung ano din yung kailangan for work for the day, what meetings you have, what tasks you have lined up, who will help you in those meetings and all of these things. So it's a really, really heavy cognitive labor, which I think is what we all know the mental load to be. But in my research on the topic as well, I found out that what makes it hard, as I keep saying, no, is that it's not just cognitive. The mental load is also largely emotional. It's an emotional load that everybody carries, no? And this emotional labor usually has to deal with emotions, no? So one, you have to deal with managing your own emotions on a day-to-day basis, right? As Filipinos, one of my mentors once told me before that Filipinos are very emotional people. And I tend to agree. You know? Every time something happens, usually we are able to pinpoint right away that we're feeling something. And usually when something bad happens, it's negative, diba? And so you have to manage that emotion for yourself. And that's hard enough for most people. But add in, you have so many other people in your life. You have people who rely on you. You have so many tasks and so many roles. And so you ultimately also end up worrying about other people, right? And this worry about other people, parang as much as you don't want to, sometimes it's just really there. And you end up really struggling, no? Parang, bakit ko na naman, like even now, personal sharing, no? As I'm talking to everyone here now, at the back of my head, iniisip ko yung anak ko, no? Na parang, gising na ba siya sa nap? Nabigyan na ba siya ng milk ng dad niya? No? All of these things. And so I parang can't help but have that at the back of my mind. But can I function? Diba? I can talk, I can like be present and share this with you, but it's a simultaneous thing happening at the back of my mind. And I keep doing that kasi it's like this very abstract location, diba? And we can't really say na, is it in the mind? I don't know, but I'm aware, no, that I'm worrying right now. And that applies to also in the workplace or at home. And then, apart from worrying about others, there's always that parang pressure that I think everyone can relate to, no? That you kind of want to make sure that everyone around you has a positive emotional experience. And that is a huge burden to carry on. No? Ika nga natin, invisible burden. No one's really forcing us to carry that, but we tend to, no? Just as human beings, perhaps, we tend to carry that on our shoulders. No? Yung, I just want people to have fun, di ba? Kunyari, nagpa-plan ka ng something, let's say, you're dealing with an event, no, a corporate event that you're trying to arrange. Yes, you deal with the cognitive labor of that, which is arranging everything that you need, logistics, inviting people, but there's also that emotional side. Nako, if I get this caterer or this speaker, this presenter, how would people feel? What would they think about this? No? And then ultimately, Will it look like I don't care if I, di ba? So parang it's it's an anxiety-provoking situation, no? And so si Donomy in the chat box also said, di ba, the unconscious need to please others. It sounds like that certainly, no? And parang we all have that to some extent, some more than others. Yung iba parang maybe these emotional labor bullet points don't tend to affect them as much, no? Some are more capable of like handling their emotions well. But to some, they're extra parang emotional, no? Especially when difficult times arise. And so itong dalawa pa lang nakakapagod na, the cognitive and the emotional. What more when you add the third component, no? And now it's the physical labor. So 2 bullet points lang, but it doesn't mean that it's any less. The actual labor, no? So your actual getting out of bed. Kanina, when Gabby asked everyone what you get up, ano yun, what keeps you going, no? Or what you do all of this for. A lot of people said, you want to travel, you do it for money, you need to survive, no? And so you actually have to pull yourself out of bed in the morning, go to work or attend class, no, or cook meals for your family, or do everything for people around you. And so that's inevitably tiring, no? And so we actually, di ba, even call it toiling for other people. Yung tipong ang dami nang nangyayari, ano to, parang you're so worried about dealing with your own stuff na nga. And then you also think about, oh, I have to deal with other people's stuff too, right? And that's what makes it challenging, definitely. And so, again, before I move on, no, it really depends on everyone. Some people will have are able to balance all three of these components really well. Yet some, no, would be more would have more difficult time, essentially, right? Okay. And so let's take a look at what this looks like also for some people. When we talk about the mental load, here are some words that came to my mind, right? As I was thinking about what goes on in my mind on a daily basis. So, and if there are any moms here or any heads of the family, any people who are here na parang in charge of their households, I'm sure you can relate with this, no? Reminding people, even employers or people who handle teams here, I'm sure you can relate. Yung idea of multitasking, which is research would say is not the best approach. It's not very productive, but we do it anyway. Organizing is difficult. It's part of the load. Remembering things, no? I think some are more capable of remembering things than others, right? And so even in within your teams, your families, there are things na parang ikaw yung naatasan to remember things kasi hindi naalala ng ibang tao, di ba? So that can be hard. So I am seeing people in the chat box. Maybe for the others, you can let us know which of these words speak to you. Alin dito yung parang talagang mukhang it's on your shoulders, right? Some might say to accommodate or accommodating others, that's part of their load. Fixing things, no? If we have dads or people who are always like in charge of those things, pag may nasisira, sila lagi pinupuntahan. Budgeting, di ba? Worrying, preventing, planning, paying, cleaning, caring, all of this. So I do see a lot of answers. Maraming nakikita ko worrying. I see a lot of planners, multitaskers. I think somebody is a solo parent, so nasa kanya na lahat yan. And I resonate with that. I have a husband, so I'm not a solo parent, but even so, it's already a lot for me. So I can't even parang begin to fathom how it would be like if it were just me by myself. So I really admire, no, people who can do it all, and parang in a way, yes, walang choice, but ang galing pa rin, no, that you're able to carry that on. Yeah, if you're doing care work, all of this, yeah. So so many things, no? And parang I want to take time on this slide just because I feel like we don't honor this enough in us, right? Most of the time, go, go, go yung life natin. We need to kayod, we need to work, and all of it, di ba? Parang part na yon, and yet we do so much, no? And maybe in time na rin for Holy Week, but whenever I think there's time to pause and reflect, it would be nice to kind of pat ourselves on the back na good job, no, you're able to carry all of this. And it's invisible, it's unpaid, it's unlimited, and yet we're still alive, we're still kicking, we're still going, no? And so parang nakakagulat nga rin, no, that you're able to carry it all. And yet most of the time, like someone said kanina, walang choice kailangan, which makes this topic all the more relevant because now that we have to carry it, then the question now becomes, what do we do about it? Diba? Because if it's so heavy, then it becomes a problem for some people. Okay? So thank you for those who answered in the chat box. I appreciate you letting me know which one you resonate with the most. We'll have another chance for participation here. I will stop sharing for now. I'll ask Gabby to pull up Venti. I have another question for you. This time, it's about the man specific to the workplace. No? So now that we talked about the heavy mental load, I'd like you to imagine, or maybe this is you, right? Or for those who are not working yet, maybe you know someone who seems to have a heavy mental load. What would that person be like in the workplace? Maybe you have colleagues or you yourself see this in yourself, no? I see some answers pouring in already. Quietly quitting. Yes, that's a new thing, a phenomenon that's come out. Yes, sa chat box, pwede din I see the answer disorganized. On Menti, withdrawn, isolated. Sorry, may isa nagsabi, tulala. Totoo, meron iba, it manifests as passive aggression. No? I know personally some people who are like that. May iba sabi, withdrawn or di makausap, distracted, irritable, no? Yes, definitely. May sariling mundo, quote unquote. Always complaining, yes. So here then, no, with the answers, you can see how personality might come into play too. Okay, so just because parang somebody is just quiet, it doesn't mean they're okay. Some are more loud about their struggles and their stress. Some are more to themselves or keep to themselves, no? Not easy to communicate with. Yes, I see that. I see also the answer sulking, not in focus, wala sa mood. Yes, I agree with all of you, no? And of course, if we see this or parang if we ourselves or we have workmates who are this way, parang ayaw naman natin yon, 'di ba? Like people would often say ayaw natin ka-work yung mga ganong tao, or you yourself feel like you're not a valuable member of the team when you feel this way, 'di ba? And so kawawa naman, no, if we are to parang label them like this. So I hope that this topic, this session can also be a reminder to us that whenever somebody behaves like the way that we see here on the screen, that maybe, no, there's something going on. And of course, I'm not gonna put a blanket statement on that kasi may ibang tao naman talaga na are more, I think, have more issues talaga with how they behave. But oftentimes, when you see somebody do these things, like maybe crying or yun nga, AWOL na lang bigla, absent-minded, that maybe, no, there's just something underneath going on. And maybe it's something like emotional distress, but chances are maybe there's just a lot on this person's plate, the metaphorical plate, or this mental load that this person has. And so I definitely agree with everybody. Thank you for sharing. I love your answers. I think that they really show that you know, either you know somebody who's like that or you yourself feel that way. But either way, no, parang it's difficult. And so let's take a look at some implications. So now we're looking at the mental load, not just for what it is, but what happens when that load becomes overwhelming. So hindi lang heavy, right? When we say heavy, parang kinakaya pa eh, naka-carry mo pa sa back mo. But overwhelming mental load is different because it's parang threatening to overflow, no? Or it's spilling over na. And I think that's the dangerous territory. So for people who have an overwhelming mental load already, in the workplace, no, they can sometimes feel overstretched. Like kahit anong direction silang hinihila and people are just there like wanting to pull at you, right? And the danger there is it happens in most areas of life. So hindi lang siya overstretched at work, you also have an individual overstretched at home, maybe in their social life too, parang their presence is being demanded by their friends, no? And so ultimately in the workplace, definitely it can lower work productivity. So if you have a team member or you work for a boss, no, or in all these mga relationships in the workplace, an overstretched person will definitely have lower work productivity. So it might factor into maybe how you will delegate your tasks, and things like this need to be looked at and reevaluated. And then an overstretched individual, no, parang definitely will have a difficult time meeting the demands of the workplace. When we say demands, this can be the physical demands, like how many days of the week papasok, no, the mental and cognitive effort that needs to go into the actual work is very difficult to meet. And so nagde-decline yung work quality. That's why you have responses a while ago that said AWOL na lang bigla, nag-absent, tulala, not really doing anything, no? And so we might imagine that because it's so overwhelming na, there's so many things going on in this person's mind and emotionally hirap na, no? That demands are just difficult to meet, okay? And then, on top of that pa, there could be challenges also in boundary setting. So, what does this look like, no? Yung tipong hirap na nga sila, so everything is on their shoulders, and yet these people will sometimes not be able to like stop the work coming in, no? Yung hindi kayang mag-no, or they will just say yes because like somebody said, parang we all have that people-pleasing tendency in us to some extent, no? Or if you are not cognizant of your employees or your team members' mental load, sometimes you might pile on pa on top of that, not knowing na hindi na pala niya kaya. So boundary setting can be difficult. Yung time, kunyari, you really need to be with your family, but it's hard to set that boundary na parang, oh, I have to leave work at 5. Like, it just ends up na OT na lang ng OT palagi. And it's not just because this person doesn't want to go home, but chances are the load is just so overwhelming na if I don't do this now, what's gonna happen? Baka masasante ako, baka ganito, no? And it just becomes difficult, no? And so, yes. And so I agree with that. Marami na nga nasa balikat niya pero aako pa ng mas marami para iwas gulo. So even yung iwas gulo or yung parang avoiding conflict, that's also largely part of what makes it parang what makes the anxiety go away but also adds on. So it's very counterproductive, but I do understand or why people do this because mas madali na lang sige oo na lang ako para hindi na kami mag-aaway kasi pag mag-away pa kami madadagdagan pa yung iniisip ko, right? And so that's definitely a problem. Thank you for pointing that out, no? And so you have issues with prioritizing, delegating tasks, imbes na you'll have somebody help you, ako na lang gagawa kasi hindi naman niya kaya yan, or I'll just do it para faster, no? Not gatekeeping. So what is gatekeeping, no? Ito yung parang you're trying to, I guess, control other people's work, especially I think this matters if you're like you have a team or you are in a role and then you already assign certain things to certain people pero you're still in there trying to like parang oh what are you doing yung micromanaging, no, and really trying to be a bit controlling in the tasks there. So that can be hard too for somebody who's already overwhelmed, and definitely trusting others to accomplish tasks. So parang ang hirap talaga. And then what's all the implication of this? It's really that when somebody has an overwhelming mental load, then stress levels increase. No, that seems like a very straightforward correlation. Na stress definitely goes up, and whenever stress goes up, so many studies would tell us that productivity goes down for sure. No, and so no, like stressed employees really don't make the most productive employees. Minsan they're still productive, but their mental and emotional well-being is not okay anymore, and we don't want that. No? And so implication also in the workplace is that long-term career success suffers, no? And maybe on a side note, because my company, so Nurturing Connections, really deals with takes care of parents, so it's parent education and parent support, and so we, when it comes to families and especially working moms or working dads, you see this a lot na they're so overwhelmed and they can't keep up with work. And so what ends up happening is they have to take a step back from the workforce. Diba? A lot of people leave because the demands of the workplace are just too much and don't seem to factor in sometimes that there are people who naturally have this extra load that they have to think about, no? And parang because they can't keep up, long-term career success suffers. And so they either don't get promoted, they don't get the tenureship, or after 6 months of parang probation, they get asked to leave, no? And so that's very difficult, right? And it can become very sad on most occasions. So yes, the topic definitely for today the main thrust is in the workplace, but we cannot talk about the workplace without actually talking about the individual or the self. And that's where my parang passion lies. No? And I really, really care about how people's relationships are with themselves. And we cannot be employees, we cannot be teammates or leaders if we don't take care of ourselves first. And so an overwhelming mental load also has implications on the self. But whatever implications there are on the self, meron din trickle effect yan onto the workplace. So I'm still discussing it. No? And I'd like to point out or make note of that lang, that the mental load itself is not a villain here. No? It's not a problem, because without the mental load, we won't survive. No? It has some survival capacity that if we did not have that self-narrative of list of tasks, then nothing would get done. Diba? No one would have anything, no productivity at all. So that itself is not the problem. It becomes the problem when people who already struggle and who are, as somebody pointed in the chat box, already burnt out and aren't able to handle it anymore, when they feel stress and they have difficulty coping, that is the issue. Okay, and so feelings of sadness, anxiety, no, these arise, and then how are they manifested? As some of you pointed out, anger, frustration, passive aggression, no? And in some instances, and I think this happens a lot in the workplace or in families, even resentment can happen. And resentment is such a difficult emotion because we feel guilty for resenting people, right? And it's not a pleasant um, emotion to have. And yet we feel that way, especially when we aren't able to handle or cope, no, with the overwhelming mental load on ourselves. And so, of course, you have your physical problems as well. People will have headaches, migraines. Some become so parang their minds are on all the time that they have difficulty sleeping, di ba? Some have memory issues or gaps na parang they can't seem to remember certain things. They're just so confused all the time and it's so difficult to pay attention. And then, of course, some, di ba, end up using substances or even misusing substances to kind of deal or keep up, no, with life, and that is a real issue as well. And so siguro I'll take a bit of a pause, no, and talk about some examples, because I think the difficulty of bullet number 2, it's very challenging, no, when parang things like this happen. Kuyari, sobrang overwhelming na ng life and things are already thrown your way. And this mental load, take note, it's subjective. So no one else can really understand exactly the load that you're carrying except for you. No? And so I guess a personal example for me, and which is also largely the reason why my husband and I came up with Nurturing Connections, is really like at the beginning of parang we had our child, no, and then I was a new mom. I had left my practice of being a therapist, no, and then I stopped teaching, and then I was alone with my baby, and I was dealing with so many things. And at that time, being a mom was at the center of my mental load. That was all technically I was doing. But because it was my first time and I didn't know much about what to do, no, and I was be overwhelmed with all the information and ang dami nang nangyayari, I couldn't handle that load. And to some people, I got comments like that na parang, what's so difficult? I mean, you're at home all the time, or parang may like you have help naman from your parents, or these comments like this, no, na parang yun lang naman ako nga ang dami kong ginagawa, di ba? And like it's so incomparable because subjectively that's really what you're going through. And no one can say na it's not overwhelming, diba? Because it is. To you, it is. And no one can say that you shouldn't be overwhelmed by it. And so this second bullet talaga, no, sadness, anxiety, all of it came crashing down. I was angry all the time. I don't know at who, maybe at myself. I was frustrated. And then even resented my husband for just being a man at one point. Na parang, okay, it must be nice. I remember those terms like that, no? Parang must be nice getting to sleep straight hours, or must be nice na you can go out while I'm here at home, yung mga ganon. And whenever I replay that, it's funny now na parang now that I'm in a better place and I can handle myself better, but during that time, it was so difficult, no? And so definitely, moms or whoever, actually anyone who has a difficult load that they're carrying really need extra support. And that's why we created our company as well. So hopefully as employers or team members or leads, we also take that into consideration. Know that sometimes an employee or a team member doesn't really look like they're dealing with a lot. And if you interview them, parang you think to yourself, yun lang naman yung ginagawa niya, di ba? Parang wala, ano pa bang kailangan kong gawin, di ba? And so there's that parang miscommunication that goes on. And so if you listen to David's talk last week, it also still applies. No, we really need to actively listen and see the person and connect with them on a certain empathetic level to be able to connect with their experience. And we cannot really like connect with them unless we go to their level and just really accept that people are different. And some people are just better handling their load. They have a really, really nice Google Chrome interface or tawag dyan, browser, and then I am stuck with my Internet Explorer. But that's me, no? And that's okay. So yun, for those who just joined us, I'm talking about the meme, no, with the tabs and the pause music and everything else. So I'm just taking a break to look at some of the comments, no? Parang working from home, the mental load, yes, it's very, very difficult. In the pandemic, I heard a lot of stories about people with families na had to work and then their kids would be there screaming or needing their attention. That was so difficult. And some, I think, are still working from home. So definitely, hopefully, you learn something later on, no, when we talk about the tips for you. And then, so maraming mga parang unfair feelings na nafe-feel yung iba din. And I think hopefully some of you felt validated as well, that it's okay to be struggling with your load. So let's go further, a little bit further now into the implications on the self as well. Here are some things that you might feel or experience. And I think I talked about some of this. I'm just going to read through them. You feel stressed, like there's always something else to do. Di ba? Parang minsan nakaupo ka na lang at night, you're about to go to sleep. Teka, parang malito. It's 9 o'clock pa lang. What am I missing? I feel like I have to do something else. Something's not right, no? And a lot of this is like very myth na parang it's not very rational, but you feel this way, no? And that's normal. You might resent other people because they are able to take a break and relax. Bakit itong taong to pag break niya kaya niyang manood lang ng videos or mag-chill? Bakit parang pag ako naka-break, working break pa rin? That is very difficult to process also. You feel annoyed when others ask you how they can help because they should already know what to do. Nako, I relate with this a lot, no? Parang especially in the early months na parang please stop asking me because hindi mo pa ba alam? And the truth is sometimes hindi talaga nila alam, no? And so there is that need, and we'll talk about more about that later also when it comes to setting expectations. Sometimes you feel irritated when others ask you questions. Like I remember somebody saying there are no stupid questions. And yet sometimes it feels that way when somebody asks something very simple and you have no time to process it, na pwede bang i-Google mo na lang or ask somebody else because I don't have time for that, no? And that definitely becomes difficult. Yes, and then issue then yung you often feel overwhelmed by what's expected of you. And take note, what's expected of you is in quotation marks because there are times when this expectation is not actually an expectation. It's more your internalized expectation of what you think others need from you. And that can be more difficult. Definitely, I'm not discounting that there are workplaces that or leaders or parang people talaga na would really have a lot of expectations and they'll verbalize it to you. So yun, ibang situation yun. But when it comes to the mental load, it's really your perceived expectations, no, that others might have of you, and that's more difficult. So if you relate with all of this, I think then you might also be experiencing some sort of heavy mental load. So I'll ask Gabby to share the Menti again, and I'd like you to just vote, no? Let's vote on which of the 5 statements you see on your screen you relate with the most, no? Sorry, close choice lang siya. Yun lang yung 5. I didn't put an other na because I feel like kahit paano, we all relate to all 5. But which of the 5 statements do you feel like is parang screams, akong ako yan? Like, I think about this all the time, or this is always what I think. So I see 2 people voted. Let's wait for the others. I'll just have a sip. Yan. So even now, we see nag-change, no? But all options have answers or have responders saying that they relate with this a lot, no? The statements here, yung highest so far, yung I am a better multitasker than others. Definitely, I agree with you that sometimes that's the perception, especially when you deliver and others can't. Yung tipong, when we say, I guess in this situation, multitaskers, yung ang dami mong list of tasks, and you get it done the best, right? So why would I bother delegating this kung mas madali naman talaga for me, diba? I think that's what a lot of you are resonating with. The others, and in the chat box are responding as well, na they're more of the 5th. So ano yung 5th? I should be the main default person for others. This, I think, is very relatable in families or households when you're the main person, the breadwinner, the default parent, no, the go-to person. Talagang you feel like, alam mo, ako kasi talaga yung default and there's no one else. Yeah, so medyo overwhelming yung dami nung votes for the first one compared to the others. But the others have votes as well. Others' time is more valuable than mine. I am very guilty of that as well. Whenever I used to ask for help, parang, ba't ko to guguluhin, no? Ba't ko guguluhin tong taong to? Mas importante naman yung time niya. Maybe this relates to when I would ask my husband for help, but my husband was working and like, at least yung work niya paid, no? Hindi ko na lang siya guguluhin. Kakayanin ko na lang to kasi he needs to focus on his work, no? And yes, pag as a panganay, that also tends to you resonate with that as well. Other statements that others relate to, my needs must come after everyone else's. Nako, tagasalo talaga ang mga Filipinos, no? I need to make sure that everybody is fed and I give everybody everything first and then tsaka ko naisipin sarili ko. That's very true. A lot of us have that experience. I'm the only one who can do the task well. Yes, and yes. Okay. So thank you for voting. And I put these 5 here for a reason. Because most of the time, when we have statements like this, no, parang it's actually a myth. No, I don't want to invalidate because yes, I'm validating you that we feel this way. But they're called myths because they are often things we tell ourselves that aren't exactly 100% true, no? What do I mean? So for the first one, kunyari, I'm a better multitasker than others, perhaps, no? But unless we have like a contest of multitasking, we would never know, diba? But it does certainly feel that way, or we perceive it to be the case. Yung others' time is more valuable than mine, maybe, but hindi rin eh, alam mo yun? So all of these statements, to some extent, feel real, but actually they're things we tell ourselves that get us stuck, no? They're statements that ultimately aren't very helpful, especially if you're already struggling with your mental load and it's already crashing on your shoulders, ang bigat-bigat na, and then we tell ourselves these statements pa, then definitely we really won't get out of it or hindi tayo magkakaroon ng better well-being from it. So I'm pointing this all out, no, just to you know, have ourselves be more aware that sometimes we do tell ourselves these things and it's okay. We pat ourselves on the back, okay lang, I caught myself saying this statement again, but ultimately it's not really helping me parang help myself. Okay, and so it's time, no, to really talk about the more actionable stuff, how to better manage this mental load. And I think this is why I think a lot of people attended, and I myself love talking about this because the truth here is that even ako, I struggle sometimes. So, and I don't know if that makes me more credible or not, but the truth is that it's all tips, it's all things that we can do. But the reality is that these are hard to do. And I won't sugarcoat. I won't pretend like everyone can just do all of this and be okay. No, then the truth here is we need to be honest with ourselves that sometimes it's just very difficult. And there are days when we're successful, there are days when we're not. But let me present to you some things you might be able to do. Especially those na parang you've never heard before. Because a lot of these you might have tried that worked already, but sana may ma-pick up pa rin kayo na magagamit nyo pa rin, no, in your life. So definitely the first tip I have is to really build your habit of reflection or introspection. Kasi a lot of us, di ba nga, our lifestyles are so quick, we need to keep moving because if we don't move, nothing will happen, di ba? But it stopping, taking a pause, and really reflecting on our life and ourselves build self-awareness. And without self-awareness, we won't be able to manage the mental load. We'll just end up feeling the burden of it. Yes, you'll feel really not okay emotionally, but you won't be able to get past it or have better well-being if we don't um have that parang habit of reflecting. So what does this look like? Kahit na a few minutes a day, maybe nga during your break, downtime, first thing in the morning before you go to sleep, while talking to a friend, pwede din, you can always reflect with a friend, but definitely give yourself those pockets of time. Perfect, the Holy Week is coming up. So you have a 4-day break from work or from school, or well, I can't say from family, but parang I hope you have more pockets of time to really work on introspection. And then, what's the point, no? After building your self-awareness or in the process of building your self-awareness, definitely we need to focus on working on the self, no? And that really manifests in areas of improvement. So, for example, you already know that you're very irritable. Like, ako lately, kuya, napapansin ko, parang ang bilis ko ng, like, I reach my limit so quickly in terms of my irritation or my impatience, no? And I recognize that. So that's the first step, recognizing na, okay, I think medyo irritable na ako these days. And so that's already an area of improvement that you can note, no? Na I need to work on this. And so having that realization that you are struggling with this is the first step to anything. And so part of it is also accepting your limitations as people. I know we like to sometimes, I know as a culture, parang naro-romanticize din yung kayod life or yung parang pag marami tayong ginagawa, sometimes it feels good too. The hustle, yes, thank you, the grind, the everyday kayod, and sometimes we, with that culture, nawawala yung concept of limitations. And so what ends up happening, people get sick, people, end up with breakdowns on a daily basis even. And so there needs to be an acceptance of, ano ba talaga kaya ko? Where does my health, where can my health reach? Until where can my mind take all of this? Can I still, kaya ko pa ba? And what are my emotional limitations? What lines do I have to draw, until I can say I can't anymore? And so the challenge is also to set more realistic expectations. Nako, this is hard, though. The more realistic expectations of yourself, like, I know na sobrang pagod ko na this week and it's a Friday. And somebody is passing me a huge deadline or something. Maybe I have to take it. I have no choice. But I think a realistic expectation is half lang yung magagawa ko. So you need to voice that out, no? Parang you need to be honest with yourself as well. And kind of say, I really can't. And having that realistic expectation is better than putting a lot of excess expectation that you can't meet, kasi that ends up in disappointment, no? And so at the other side to it is really setting realistic expectations for others. I see a lot of responses there a while ago, and even as they're coming in now, no, na parang there's, pag ako gumawa, mas madali. Kasi ayoko nang ipasa sa mga taong hindi naman nila kayang gawin, no? And maybe there's some truth to that, but also maybe when we do delegate, then there needs to be more realistic expectations. So sige, para hindi ako mainis, I will, let's say, give this task to this person, but realistically, I know ano na ba yung kayang i-accomplish, no? And by setting more realistic expectations, then you don't get to be that irritated or that annoyed when things don't get delivered to you. on time or the quality that you like, no? At home, what would this look like? Siguro you want people to help you, maybe remember certain things, no? Parang ang naalala ko in my life, parang remembering to buy things sa grocery. So pag paubos na, please tell me kasi I need to know, no, na there are things that I have to go buy na, for example. So a realistic expectation would be that, sometimes that's not part of people's mental loads. They don't think about that. So a realistic expectation there would be, there are really times when they will forget. Okay? And I know that already. So the next time it might happen, hindi na ako magsustrap, hindi na ako magagalit to the point na like I lose my cool or whatever. So I don't know what it looks like for you in your situations too, but definitely that's something that that you might you might be able to try in your own life, no? And so I see some comments nga na not to be the harshest critic of yourself. Definitely, no? Because a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves for things that we can't do. And we're also hard on others for things they can't do. But we need to be realistic in how we view ourselves and view other people. Kasi kung hindi tayo realistic, it always builds up to some sort of disappointment or irritation or anger or resentment, no? So this slide really just says we have to be aware of the things that we can handle, the things that we can't. Okay. I'd like to share with you a metaphor, no, that I recently came across. I'm sure you've heard of let's say grounding yourself on the present and things like that. But a recent metaphor I came across in a website, I don't remember exactly where, is the term anchoring. I'd like to talk about this for a while because this has helped me a lot in the recent months, weeks, no? Imagine that you're on a boat, di ba? Whatever boat that you think you have, yacht, ship, cruise ship, di ko alam kung ano yung boats niyo. Pwedeng rowboat, sailboat, whatever boat. And you're at sea, di ba? Calm yung waters and you're just cruising, you're just moving. But sometimes life will be turbulent. There will be storms. There will be waves that are more like intense, chaotic, no? And you're in your boat, and then parang, oh no, I'm getting swept away. I'm di ko na kinakaya, di ba? And then biglang parang tataob na, no? And a helpful visualization would be to drop your anchor, right? Because in a boat, when you're even in maybe rough seas, when you drop your anchor, it's somehow a little more stable. We're not saying that when you drop your anchor, things around you stop. Like there will still be a storm, but still parang at least there's some sort of stability, and that's what we want. So in life, yun nga, things will be very difficult, no? Whatever things you see as your storm or as your turbulent waves, ultimately they will be there. But it's our job to anchor ourselves. And what does this look like? No, it's really acknowledging first and foremost how you're feeling. I think a lot of us struggle with this. Na we're so on the move that we don't really take the time to think or to analyze how are you really feeling. And if it's a negative feeling, we sometimes just want to sweep it under the rug or get it over with because who has time to break down? Diba? Parang ang dami-dami kong deadlines, iiyak pa ba ako? And I think a lot of us do that as a coping mechanism, but sometimes, and it's a hard pill to swallow, it's not the most productive, right? Because when we don't honor our feelings and we don't acknowledge them, especially negative feelings, in psychology, no, in counseling, what ends up, we always tell our clients, what ends up happening is it becomes all the more overwhelming to bear. When it suddenly comes out, sometimes you don't know, biglang nag-outburst ka na lang in the workplace and you don't, because you haven't been acknowledging that you are not okay and you haven't been okay for weeks, no? And so definitely acknowledging is the first step. And then focus on your body and your senses. Nako, ano na ba yung nafe-feel ko now? Umiinit na yung batok ko. My palms are getting sweaty, so you need to be aware of that as well. Engage in the world around you. So ito yung mga go on a walk, look around you, notice the weather. Right now, it's raining very hard. Nako, what will that do to traffic later? But yeah, so notice these things. So at least try to really stabilize yourself in the moment. And then embrace the I don't know as well. A lot of us parang, like, we always feel like we have answers to everything. And when somebody comes up to us and asks us, minsan feeling natin it's required of us to answer. But the truth is, I think we really need to say, I don't know. No? I don't know. And that's okay that you don't know. Kailangan talaga. And so I'm reading the chat box nga na parang may nakatime pa yung mga breakdowns, no? And truthfully, it's funny to talk about. But if this helps you to really get it out and you have to set a timer for yourself, you know what? Okay lang. If that's the way that you need to. No? But others would usually like to do it at home when they're more in their safe space, ganyan. So it really depends on you. But anchoring has changed my life. Whenever I feel like things are too turbulent na, I just try to mentally drop an anchor and stop whatever I'm doing first. And then it usually helps me feel a little bit better. Okay? Ito yung mga for the practical people out there. If you're not into emotions that much or self-reflection, you can also focus on this to prioritize tasks and write things down or make a list. To some, it comes more naturally, like may actual checklist sila. Yung iba, mental lang, no? Today, what is the most important? Ito lang muna, no? What I used to do before, and I like telling clients as well, if you have a paper, di ba? Usually, your checklist is written down one after the other. Madami yan. Checklist. What I used to do, kasi nakaka-overwhelm yung checklist, right? There's like 10 different things. I usually fold my paper to cover most of it. No? And only show what's like number 1 lang dun sa list or yung pinaka-important lang. And then as I tick it off, I can reveal more and more and unfold and fold again. So yun parang visual guide siya to kind of give yourself that yun nga, yung visual representation na okay, hindi pala ganun kadami. You don't look at it as a whole. So that can be something you'd like to do as well. I talked about the realistically kanina, no, doing things realistically. So delegating load realistically as well. This is especially for employers or those handling teams. You might want to really think about how you're delegating your tasks. For families, people, yung people na are the heads of their households, sometimes you want to give tasks to people around you as well. Yes, pero yung kaya lang nila. Kasi pag you delegate it to people who can't handle it, may added stress lang siya. Okay, we talked about gatekeeping. Do not gatekeep tasks. So what does this look like when you try to control, limit, or micromanage? That becomes hard. And then, yun nga, get people, even kids at home, no, involved in chores or tasks. Minsan, mas tumatagal, truthfully, like, yun nga, kung ako na lang gumawa, mas mabilis. But, in enlisting help, you kind of need to weigh too. Is speed what's important? Or is what's important that I get it off my plate? Right? Sa personal example ko, bath time it used to be, for my kid at least, I used to be the one doing bath time for my son. But I have had to delegate that to my husband who now does bath time with my son. So since I passed that off, I've stopped thinking about it. Every time bath time, pwede ko na siyang tanggalin sa mind ko. Like, alam ko na somebody else is handling it and that person is capable and they can do it and I don't have to worry. No? So try to see that also in your life as well, in your home or your work life. Yeah, so get people involved. Next, and we're almost to the end of the tips, no? Communication is key. Whether it's with your partner, husband, spouse, family, colleagues, and do regular check-ins. So what does that look like? Maybe once a week, even at the end of the day, no? Parang, so kamusta today? What happened? Ako, truthfully, nahirapan ako, and this is why. And then you can talk about it. Maybe tomorrow, we can try this naman, because this is really not working for me. Okay? So you might want to do regular check-ins with each other. Next, share your plan with those supporting you. Okay, and get outside help when needed. This applies to home and school life. So parang home, school, or work life. You have support, so share them with them. So share your plan with them. And then whenever you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it, because that definitely will help. No? To draw boundaries and be firm with people, right, in your family or workplace. A lot of us have problem with this, and I know some have expressed that, but definitely try to do it kahit mahirap, no? Start with a really simple one lang. Like, for example, my boundary for today is no matter what happens, I will clock out at a certain decent hour. Siguro 5, give or take, 5:30. I need to be firm with it, no? So try to tell your people in advance around you na, this is my boundary for today. This is the time I will go home, and please help me keep to that boundary. Okay, so and this help. Lastly, and we all are fans of this, self-care is important. So carve out time for yourself and practice self-care. Yes, Alessia, building boundaries is definitely not selfish, right? So if everybody kept boundaries, I think mas masaya lahat ng tao, no? Of course, you have to kind of um what do you call this, balance as well. Like, if I hold my boundary, how would that affect everyone else? Now, sometimes, okay, there may be days when you kind of give in a little, but as much as possible, you try to hold it, no? And so, healthy, life-giving activities, not just distractions. Alam kong mahilig tayong manood ng shows, or, maybe to engage in vices or whatnot, no? Parang, you try to like, yourself the most, no, and what works for you, but definitely we opt for activities that are more life-giving, mas nakakadagdag sa buhay, and kind of parang put you in a better mood, no, than those that are counterproductive. Last, no, it's really to work on the self. When you talk about, and this is my favorite slide of the if they're taking anything away from this, I hope it will be this, that ultimately the mental load, we suffer with it because we try to control everything in our surroundings, whether at work, at home, or wherever we are needed. And control is hard because the truth is that you cannot control many things. And the only thing you can control is yourself, what you do, and what you think, and how you engage with the world. And so we really all need to try to just focus on what we can control and let go of what we cannot control, right? And so this is harder, easier said than done, but it's a practice that I think helps greatly. That ultimately, if this something is out of your control, then we try not to worry about it too much, because worrying about it is just causing added mental load, and it's not helpful. The stress tolerance technique usually used in therapy, no, is radical acceptance. It sounds so simple, no? Accept na lang ng accept, but it goes beyond that. Okay. When you talk about radical acceptance, it's acceptance of things, especially after you've done everything na, no? And a lot of us already do a lot. We try to, let's say, set boundaries na, and then ginawa mo na yung list of priorities, may checklist ka na, you talk to people in your surroundings, you had a chat already with this employee that's difficult. You did everything that you could possibly do. And yet sometimes that's not enough. Okay? And sometimes that makes us go like really, that blows our mind, and we're super distressed about that. But the truth is that this is just the way it is. I don't have to like it. I don't have to like anything about it at all, the situation, but it is what it is. And I'd like to let that sink in. Sometimes it is what it is. And if everything else you've tried is not working, then maybe we just need to accept that sometimes there's really nothing we can do, and there's nothing that's in our control that we can do anything about. And so when we try to just accept things, you know what? Ginawa ko ng lahat, nakakapagod. Ako talaga yung umaako ng lahat ng load na to. But it is what it is. And with acceptance really comes that parang peace, na you try to not ruminate anymore. You won't be caught in this like cognitive struggle where you try to tell yourself na parang magbabargain ka pa, no? It eliminates that. It reduces the shoulds and the musts, yung mga, ito yung kailangan, ito kasi yung expectations, no? And then, of course, when we talk about acceptance, it's radical, but also we also accept the emotions that come with it, right? So I really just need to accept na I'm sad, no? And that it's okay to be sad. And so the last tip is really to look at life as having chapters or seasons. So maybe this part of your life is hard, but it's a season or it's a chapter. And sometimes this too shall pass, and that's very strong. I hope that everyone can relate with that as well. So here's the last, on a last note, no, for companies or employers, And this is my call to action, I suppose. So it's really being aware that everyone in the workplace has a mental load that they're carrying, some more overwhelming than others. And so I feel like it's also for employers, no, to really provide mentoring opportunities, especially for those who are more seasoned, more experienced, to really guide newer employees who might be struggling more and help them figure out how to make everything work. It's also a call to create programs, no? Or maybe assistance programs for populations who have naturally more overwhelming mental load. So I put here, for example, solo parents, mothers, fathers, sole breadwinners, yung mga eldest children who need to do the brunt of the work, no? And then really supporting them with life transitions. And of course, supporting employees with childcare if possible. Nilagay ko lang yan dyan. It's never too big to dream. No? And then if somebody sees this, di ba, parang sana may gumawa nito. But di ba, that lessens a lot of the load. So we do what we can in how we can do it. So yeah, and so ultimately, you can also build a supporting and understanding environment, no? Share best practices, open to flexibility in work, and really try to be lenient when important matters come up. I know a lot of like employees with families that parang they feel like they can't speak up when it's a family matter because it'll be seen as like um family na lang lagi, no? Or hindi nagpe-pay attention and things like this. And the thing is, but family is such an important part of life and it really will intertwine with work no matter what happens. So if you feel like you need to speak up in your workplace, hopefully your workplace is open to hearing you out. No? And so another tip is really have a work environment where people feel safe to talk. And I think positive workplaces also works with a lot of organizations in really ensuring that this is the way that the environments are set up. So others can find solutions with you, with the employees. And lastly, the safe space. I think I've said that, where employees feel understood and validated, which I hope you feel today. Because I see you, I see the struggles, I myself, we all go through this, and it's challenging, no? And so last but not least, ultimately, being able to manage the mental load well, and why we even talked about this topic is really so that everything we do can lead to better work-life integration. And as a takeaway, I feel like a lot of us always use work-life balance. There's nothing wrong with the term, but I recently came across this term which I like more. It's work-life integration. With balance, you can sort of imagine you're on a tightrope, right? You're balancing and you have all these balls in your hand. And the issue with balance is that the minute you can drop, at any moment you can drop a ball, di ba, pag imbalance. And so that's not what we want. No, you don't want it to always be like I have to be on my toes. May hindi lang ako magawa sa certain role ko, or hindi ko lang to magawa, lagot ako, or I'm gonna get in trouble in a certain part in my life. That's not what we want. And what we want really is work-life integration. No, where you're able to be yourself when you're at work, because you don't stop wearing your hats. Maybe you have more focus, but like for example, as I'm doing this talk with you, I am a speaker, but I am not any less a mother or a friend or a daughter. But those are all my hats, and we all should be able to integrate it better. And which is why if you are an employer or you lead a team, it would be nice to know the home or the background also of people you're working with, because it's really difficult to lead or to have a team and get things done if we're trying to delegate or we're trying to do things but we don't know anything about the people we're with, no? And so empathy really comes in. So I hope that helps. I see that Gabby or si Mari rather is already asking you to start asking questions if you have any. So please let me know, but definitely I hope you can all strive for better work-life integration. I hope you learned a lot about the topic today. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I hope employers hear this one too. That's really my goal. Sana merong may mangyari out of this. Thank you everyone. Gabby, are you here?
Yes, hello, Joy. Actually, we already have a lot of questions in our pigeonhole
Yay,
And
game.
super thank you for sharing with us. I think this topic really came at a timely time. Timely time. Because I
Timely
think
time.
a lot of people are already doing Q1 reviews because it's
Yeah.
already the end of March.
Right.
And
Oo nga,
alam
no?
mo yung nagka-catch up na, oh my God, we've been working for at least 3 months this year.
Yeah,
Diba? So
yeah.
it's really a nice time to
Correct,
talk about
correct.
these things. So we
Right,
already have
right.
questions. For those of you who have questions and want to join in on the
Love the
conversation,
questions.
you can just scan the QR code you can see on the screen or just go to pigeonhole.at, okay, and then type in the passcode burden. Mari also sent the link in the chat box, so you can just quickly click on that link and then ask your question. So, Joy, usually we answer the top
Yeah,
voted
yes.
questions
I love
first,
that
but
question.
I will defer to your
Yeah,
preference. Do
I
you want to
hope.
answer the first one?
Yes. I like that
Go
question. So
ahead.
I think the issue, no, as I was talking, I was seeing the chat a lot. Parang it's one thing to talk about your own mental load, no? And parang how you want to handle it. But the thing is kasi we can't control people around us. And I think the stressors that come to our lives are when people around us are difficult, quote unquote difficult. And so I think with people like this, when we talk about weaponized incompetence, I like that term, no? When it comes to chores and tasks, that's so triggering, diba? Yung in a way, parang you know that they're just using it to get out of it. I think that's the essence. Correct me if I'm wrong, kung yun ba yung meaning ng weaponized incompetence. Yung tipong you're going to assign something and then wala pa nga like, di ko yan kaya. Or like, I can't, diba? I can't do that. Ganun. So, the key here is to really look at from where we see this, no? To use the term weaponized incompetence is seeing it from your perspective, right? Oftentimes, it's what you see in another person who's not performing up to par or who doesn't really like behave in the way that we would want them to behave because they're not helping us out. Diba? So that's one. That's you need to recognize that it's our perception of them, no? Unless we kind of validate na nag-iinarte ka lang ba or you have confirmation from somebody who's like saying na this person is just pretending na hindi na kaya to annoy you or something. Apart from that, we can't really know. So it's more a parang a mindset that we have that's not helping us. Diba? And that becomes a difficulty. So how I would counter it or how I would go about it is to really try to talk to the person, no? Really admit or say honestly, no, na this is what I feel. Whenever I give you a task or whenever I give you a chore, it seems like you're already telling me that you can't do it. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? No, and invite them to really open up to you about it. Kasi what happens when we say weaponized incompetence, parang it's so ano agad, like there's a wall right away, like there's a judgment on that person, and that doesn't help, right? And so one way to get through it is to see that person, invite them for discourse, but syempre iba na yung kapag they have an attitude about it or like they try to not like take responsibility, accountability, and all of that, then maybe you try to escalate and have someone join in the conversation, HR personnel, who can kind of like mediate the discussion. But the truth
Yeah.
is that sometimes incompetence can also come across as anxiety. I mean, it manifests as incompetence, but in truth, it's anxiety. That maybe, just maybe, this person is already handicapping themselves. That's a term in counseling, no? There's a self-handicapping because that person is just so anxious, no? And I recall back in the day then when I first joined the workforce that there would be tasks talaga na parang hala, hindi ko alam gagawin ko, no? And there are some people who are just better at hiding that anxiety. So we don't want to label right away and say like, this person is just feigning, this person doesn't really like ayaw lang talaga niya, but maybe baka may pinagdadaanan din siya, no? That maybe this person is also just having a difficult time and they don't know what to do as well. So there for me it's all like navigating that first and checking muna what it really is before you can actually do something about it. But I would definitely in the workplace try to get somebody who can mediate because sometimes it's difficult when you are emotionally like may bias ka na or you already feel like negatively about this person, which is I think yeah, yun yung nafe-feel ko. I hope that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I love your answers, Joy. Parang dun sa
Thank
dalawang
you.
answers mo, they can already apply what they have learned about communication in the previous webinars,
Yeah.
'di ba? It's
Right.
important. I know it's difficult for us
Hirap
Filipinos
talaga.
to do
Right,
these
right.
conversations,
Mm-mm.
but it's also important that we, yeah, 'di ba? Alam mo yung hesitant tayo kasi feeling hindi natin alam kung paano sila magre-react.
Mm-mm.
Pero the more na hindi
Correct,
natin
correct,
siya
correct.
i-raise, 'di
Pero
ba?
iba din yun. Like, I wouldn't blanketly say then that everybody who manifests this is going through something. I
Yeah.
think there are just
Yeah.
people who are naturally just, I don't know,
Avoid.
baka ina-avoid lang talaga nila or gusto na nila
Totoo,
mag-quit
totoo.
and they can't.
Yeah.
But like, if there's someone struggling and then you approach them with a mindset where it's like, nakakainis tong taon to, then nothing will get done. So I feel like,
Yeah.
yes, it's on you, but that person has to have a parang accountability.
Autonomy. Yeah. Accountability. Yeah, that's
Correct,
true.
correct.
And skill check din.
Yeah,
So baka mamaya hindi niya talaga
agree.
alam kung
Exactly,
paano siya
exactly,
gawin.
exactly.
So there are a lot.
Love it.
Ayan.
Oh, gusto ko yan, Gabi. It's
Alin?
the second one, the how do you mentally rest? Yes, you know what? I've been talking about self-care a lot, and this has come up a lot. How do you mentally rest when you don't have personal space? I think this is hard when you live with other people, or if like you don't have a room to yourself, and it becomes challenging kasi how do you unplug? How do you disconnect, no? But maybe ako at the top of my head, if you can't do it in your home or your own personal space, then we need to look for it somewhere else. Maybe this is, I don't know, to some I saw kanina yung CR nila. They said 5-minute cry break sa CR. You know what? If that's where you can find peace, go for it, no? To me, it can also be like maybe kapag nasa condo or small home and you don't have your own room, stepping outside, going for a walk, keep moving around, no? Parang technically that can, if you keep moving around in an open space, you can feel like you have your space pa rin, no? Quiet sulok in the garden, you can try as much as possible to have that personal space. Pero kung wala talaga, you can create it, maybe putting on earphones to zone out everyone else around you. Like just plug in and then play some music para mawala yung, and then close your eyes. No, that can be also helpful. So sensory parang space can also be very helpful. I hope that helps to anyone who feels like they don't have space.
Yes. So I'm mindful of
Yes.
the time. It's already 4:30. We can
Yeah.
answer 2 more.
Yes. And then
Siguro.
yes,
And then
yes.
if you're still free, Joy, I can just give out the
Yes,
certificates for a while and
game.
then we can answer more
Yes,
questions.
game. Sige.
Yeah. Okay.
Yun, yung 11, let's go with the most
The top.
voted para
Okay.
ano. Yeah. I somehow agree with radical acceptance, but what if the issue is bordering on workplace bullying or abuse and the higher ups? Okay. So radical acceptance works when there are issues in your surrounding na are not parang threatening, harmful, yung tipong you did everything that you can that's in your control, that you can do something about, and then wala talaga, then yes, you can accept. But the thing is kasi when things like this happen, like let's say issues bordering on bullying or abuse, then that's a totally different scenario, no? That is already impinging on like your mental and emotional well-being, especially if you're the target of it. So if the higher ups are not doing anything about it, nako, I feel like you still need to keep saying your piece or parang standing up for what is right if possible. Maybe coming up with a group, parang di naman class action lawsuit, not to that extent, but like having other people who also notice the same can help, like get allies or people who can help you escalate, maybe. If you've already tried talking to the person, that can help. If also you are like the brunt, parang the person, like let's say on the tail end of that, if leaving the company is not an option, then maybe you can seek help, right? Professional help is there, either yung mga hotline services or therapy sessions, because in situations when there's something that is out of your control and you've tried to do something and it's not working, then you need to take care of yourself. Okay, so I would definitely suggest talking to somebody so that you can process what's going on. Pero kasi yun nga, kung bordering na on abuse, then it needs to be mentioned, no? And if the higher ups aren't doing anything about it, then somebody else needs to know, no? And I don't know about exactly how like the hierarchy works in the workplace, pero yun, and if you can't handle it talaga, then I think you need to leave if no one's doing anything about it, no? And that you need to protect yourself. So yun, it's very
Yeah.
important.
Oo.
Ayun.
Okay, maybe we can answer just one more before we give certificates
Sige.
or the evaluation form.
Yeah.
You wanna go with the top voted one, or
Wait.
are you
Yeah, yeah,
seeing an
sure.
interesting?
Balance of needs and needs of others. Okay. If you're in a leadership position, the heavy load would definitely be heavier, for sure. How would you balance your needs and the needs of others? Oh, okay. You're a person, first and foremost. You're a leader, but you're also a person. So the load that you target first is your own, no? Your personal life, your everything around you. But if it's the workplace load that's difficult, then definitely we need to have like a parang touch base with everyone around you. So if you are a leader, connecting with your team definitely helps. So checking in with them, maybe having some sort of open forum that's always there. I would think, uso pa ba yung mga parang suggestion boxes or like maybe a Google form? Anytime you want to like tell me something, you can fill that out. And then maybe parang you give yourself a sort of time in the week, maybe Friday at after lunch, 1 p.m. I'm gonna open this document and try to look at this parang all the suggestions or all the things that my employees feel. Parang ganon. Kasi two things, the employees or people under you need to know that they can talk to you whenever they need to, that you're approachable, right? And two, you need to do something in return for that. Like you can't just like always say, talk to me, but then you don't listen to them, no? So the balance there is really I need to be a leader to do the tasks, but tasks can't get done when there's no morale or when your team doesn't feel like they're safe to talk to you. So I don't know if any leaders are here, but that's so important. Sometimes employees feel like they're not heard or they're not valued, no? And so that has to be there, the open communication talaga, and just being there and allowing yourself to yeah, to be there for them, no? But then balance that with, okay, but I'm still their boss and I still need to make sure things get done. So parang give and take. You can't be always like giving in as well. And then you say, okay, I'll give this to you. My boundary is you can have this, but I also need something. And this is my boundary as well. And of course, it has to be reasonable. Di ba? So yun, sana
Yes.
nakatulong.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
also would like to add yung sinabi
Yes,
mo kanina
yes.
about anchoring. Diba? I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
yeah.
na when leaders read these suggestions,
Stress.
parang hindi din maiiwasang isipin na, am I incompetent because I
Yeah,
was not
yeah.
able to provide for these?
Correct.
Pero again,
Correct.
self-awareness. Di ba
Correct.
parang
Kailangan
hindi
talaga,
mo,
girl. Like,
exactly, di ba? So,
yun.
ground your emotions, check yourself, and practice self-awareness in those
Correct.
times. And compassion as well.
Correct.
Self-compassion as well.
Okay.
Yan. Ang daming reaction sa chat box. I think they can really relate.
I know,
with,
I can see. I
with
can
what
see it. I'm reading
you...
your chats as much as I can. No? Oo.
Yan. Okay, so
Ayun.
I'll just quickly flash our
Yes.
evaluation forms. Tapos maybe, Joy, we can stay for hanggang siguro 4:45. Would that be
Oh
okay with
yeah,
you?
sure.
So we can
Whoever's
answer some of
game.
the
Correct.
questions pa.
Correct. I love talking about this. So feel free to
Ayan.
stay.
So you can now see the QR codes that you can see on the screen. Please fill out the post-evaluation form so that you will be able to get your e-certificate. Please do let us know what you learned from today's session, how you found today's session, and if you have any comments and suggestions moving forward. Mary also shared the links in the chat box, so you can also just click that link and then make sure that you put in your correct name, the correct email address, because the certificates are automatically generated.
That's
And
right.
kung mali yung nilagay nyo, hindi nyo siya matatanggap and mali yung pangalan na nakalagay sa certificate.
That's right. Gabby,
Thank you.
siguro before the others sign out as well, I'd like to
Yeah.
share lang, oo. Kasi
Yes,
I
nurture
also,
connections. Go ahead.
yeah,
Go
may
ahead.
advocacy kasi, so one way to answer din, no, sa workplace, I think it really has to do with parang ano ba, working with employers or companies to make sure that parang there's some seamless, parang ano ba, working together, no, to build a healthier workplace. So I'd like to nag-plug, but this is the purpose also, no, parang to let you know who we are. So I'm the co-founder also of Nurturing Connection. So if you like what you heard, this is really what we're passionate about, no. You may find us at nurturingconnections.ph, or our socials are there on the screen. But we're primarily targeting ano talaga, parents, no? So if you are a parent or you know parents in your lives who are struggling, who need support, who need parang some sort of guidance in the way that they parent, please reach out to us, no, and let us know how we can help. If you are also an employer or a company who would love to work with us in terms of creating these safe spaces for your employees who are parents and have families and are carrying heavy mental loads, we would love to explore that with you. So we are open very much to collaborations. But yeah, primarily it's just to build medyo kami, advocacy talaga namin is to make sure that there's a lot of safe spaces for everyone, no? Parents included, and of course creating this environment for kids na warm, responsive, loving, no, so that they grow up, no, in homes that are nurturing, no. And so that's us. And then if you know anyone who can benefit from our services, please do link them to us, and you may find us on our socials, no? And lastly, we have some events coming up as well in Include Ko Na. So a free webinar for all the parents here. If part of your mental load is struggling, let's say, with how to manage your child, or like giving them gadgets, pwede ba? Ano bang issue doon? What are all the implications? Please attend our webinar. April 13, it's here. You may go on our socials to find the link as well, no? And then if you know somebody whose mental load is about to get even bigger with expecting for a pregnancy or having a child soon, we also have a webinar at the end of April for that. So to mentally and emotionally prepare you for parenthood. So yun yung mga examples of what we talk about when it comes to parent education and services. So we also do one-on-one consultations with parents who need support. Ayun. So thank you for that, for letting me share that with everyone.
Yes, and we also shared the link in the chat box. So
Yeah,
please do
thank you.
click the link and then just click follow, click like, so that you will get the prompts and updates. I
Yes.
also saw
Thank you
that
so
you have
much.
thought leaderships on parenting, and I don't think na
Yes.
maraming ganyang resource here in the Philippines. So please do follow Nurturing Connections as well.
Thank you so much.
Yan. Alam mo, Joy, ang ganda nung isang comment in the
Yeah,
chat
I'd like,
box na,
marami akong na-miss because it kept
yeah.
flooding. Oo.
Yeah, so this is not a question, and I really appreciate how you
Yeah.
deliver this topic. I'm not a fan of attending our mental health sessions because I feel like we can't express much since our leaders are there. So ito
Love
talaga
that.
yung
That's right.
'di ba, parang nagiging output nila na hindi. Ito yung resource nila so that they can also
Yeah.
express. So I'm sure nakita mo kanina sa chat box na they were really vulnerable about all their
That's
experiences
right.
about this. So we
That's right.
hear
And
you.
oo nga,
Yeah, go
yun
ahead.
that's exactly why parang effort needs to be done in terms of the integration. Kasi to feel like you can't express yourself in the workplace, that's so difficult, di ba? Parang how will you be like yourself completely and handle your load if you feel like when you speak up you're gonna be in trouble, di ba, for saying something. So it speaks to also companies and employers na parang maybe we should build like healthier cultures, no, where people are feel more included and seen, and I love that you're doing that as well. Ayun. Thank you for
Yes.
attending. Those who are still here, I appreciate the interaction as well. Thank you.
Okay, ayan. Maybe do you have any questions that you'd like to answer?
Oh yeah, sure. I have time. Let's see. Ano pa ba? How do you prioritize self-care and well-being amidst the nasa taas siya eh. I think yan. Yeah, how nga ba? First, you have to acknowledge that you have to. I think is the case. I think a lot of us feel like the pressures of work and responsibilities outweigh yourself. Di ba? Kaya may myth na parang other people are more parang valuable than us, parang ganon, than our time. So you need to kind of acknowledge that first na, without the self, without me, I can't get anything done. So if I feel like I'm already crumbling, or you can kind of, ano mo yun, feel like you're not able to deliver anymore, edi you need to make time for it and really take a step back to other responsibilities. So maybe saying no to some things, or really telling other people this is my boundary and I can't today, and how to take care of yourself. Ganyan. So medyo need talaga lang siya i-prioritize. That's the first step.
That's
Ayun.
true. Kasi in the long run, your body will say no
Correct.
for you.
Correct.
So yan na, magkakasakit
So,
ka
kailangan
na,
talaga.
burnout.
That's right. Ayun. Ano pa ba?
Okay. Maybe
There's still a lot in the
more.
room.
Oo nga hindi pa sila
Yeah. Mm.
Ito siguro.
Yeah.
I'm actually
I was gonna say
curious.
that.
Yeah.
How do you prioritize healthy work-life balance in today's fast-paced world? Ano ba? It's fast, but I feel like it's a perception too. Like, objectively ba natin masasabi na mabilis talaga? Or does it just feel that way because we have so many things going on? Because the mental load is so high. And I feel like that's oftentimes okay, I don't want to say to everyone, but to some people, it can be a very, ano lang, parang, it just feels that way, that it's fast. But for sure, the priority here is really slowing down. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but it needs to be intentionally slowing down, right? And it can start little by little. So maybe you can't expect na parang from a super fast pace na everyday may work ka and then you're suddenly gonna take a 1 week leave, diba? Parang hindi yun realistic. And so I'm gonna keep going back to what's realistic, what's doable, what's feasible. So maybe it'll start with your break. Imbes na you used to eat in 10 minutes lang, di ba? Maybe extend mo muna yan to 20 minutes today until eventually over the next few days, you can take a 1 hour break and you can slowly work on yourself and your tasks and delegating and managing. So a lot of this is not really a parang one size fits all approach. Like kailangan talaga you work with what works today. Sometimes this day, ito yung mag-work, minsan ito, ganyan. So parang you really need to try to trial and error it, but also acknowledging kasi na this, I need to slow down and I need to do this. So kailangan talaga.
Tama.
Yes.
Like kahit siguro one simple step then na you can do is to do energy checks within the day.
Yeah, I
diba?
like that. Oo nga.
So
Kaya
very
ko ba?
simple. Very
Oo,
simple
oo.
pero it will help jumpstart the practice of being
Correct.
intentional.
Correct.
Yan.
That's
Maybe
very
we can
true.
choose one more.
Okay. How can we? Sorry, and this is a screen. How do you?
We can also send
Meron
this
ako
to you, Joy.
nakita.
Ha?
Oo nga eh. I saw one about authority. Can you go?
Where is it? Ito. How would you
Tama ba?
support someone who holds more authority than you in the workplace when
Ooh, I
they
love that.
express concerns about their
Minsan
mental
lang
load?
yun, parang this goes like down up, di ba? I feel like you can just hold the space. So, kunyari, kailangan lang nila mag-rant to you, you can be there for the person as a person, first and foremost. So, marami kasing, I guess with the workplace, there's always the role, what your role is, kung sino ba talaga yung may authority. But I feel like we can be people. So, it's really supporting them by showing them you're there to listen, or to hear them, and then yun, maybe asking what can I do for you, no, not really giving unsolicited advice. I feel like that's a pitfall we sometimes fall into, where we don't hear kasi parang meron tayong gustong agenda na gawin, di ba? So I feel like to be there to support someone, even if somebody's higher than you in authority, you just need to see them as a person, I think, is how you start, di ba?
And siguro i-offer mo din if you're really ready, di ba?
That's right.
Kasi sometimes parang baka marami nang iniisip yung
Sinasabi
empleyado
lang.
ko.
Oo,
Tapos
oo.
ayoko nang dagdagan. Like
That's
recently,
right.
recently John shared that to us na parang nahihiya ako na magsabi sa inyo kasi I think marami na kayong dinadala. And I'm like, John, actually I'm okay parang to listen to you if you have So yeah. So
Right,
maybe you
right.
can just open that link.
Yeah, for sure. Mahirap na mag-ano, parang maraming akala-akala that I think we need to get past, no? It's a cultural thing, but we just need to do it. Diba?
Yes.
Ayun.
Okay, we still have a couple of questions, but siguro I can just encourage everyone to just
Yeah.
follow Nurturing Connections. Maybe Joy can
Thank
do
you.
a post
Yeah.
by answering
I
some of
will,
your questions.
actually. I
So we
will.
will
I
just
will.
forward that to her.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so again, thank you, Joy, for sharing
Thank
your
you so
expertise
much. I
with
had
us this
fun.
afternoon.
Sana may
Yeah.
natutunan
Yes,
ako
I think
lahat.
ang dami nilang natutunan. We're going to share with you kung ano yung
Thank you.
mga insights nila in
Yes,
their
please.
evaluation form. So
Yes,
we'd
please.
love to present the certificate of appreciation to you. So this
Aw,
certificate is
thank
issued
you.
to Joanne, Stephanie Fillard, MP, RSI for generously providing their time and expertise as a resource speaker for the webinar, Carrying the Invisible Burden, Understanding the Mental Load and How to Manage It. Yan, held on the 27th of March, 2024, signed by John Baluyot, our Chief Enabling Officer, and Miki Vergara, our Chief Wellbeing Officer. Do
Thank
you have
you.
any last words that you'd
Oh my
like to
gosh.
leave with
Ano ba?
our learners this
Ah,
afternoon?
thank you. I know that it's already the long vacation. So please take care of yourselves. Again, thank you so much for having me, for listening. I appreciate the team, Positive Workplaces, for helping me come up with this topic too. Gabby and I work really closely to come up with this topic. So thank you. And again, if you want to catch more of the content that we do, we're all about mental health. Yes, it's parang mostly geared towards parents, but even if you don't have children or you're thinking of having one, you're going to relate with a lot also to our content. So again, at Nurturing Connections sa IG, and we can find us on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful and blessed Holy Week ahead. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much, Joy. So maybe you can give, for our learners who are still in the room, you can give a virtual round of applause or hearts. Send in those heart reactions for Joy this afternoon. So again, we talked about the Positive Leaders Toolkit, the power of positive connections and communications this March. Sana marami kayong natutunan and you will be able to apply these in your workplaces. You can definitely follow us on LinkedIn. You can see the QR code on the screen, and you can also find all of the webinars on YouTube. They are all recorded. So if you want to go back and review all of the concepts that you've learned, or kung gusto nyong ipakita sa employers nyo na, hey, maybe we can engage Positive Workplaces so that they can run an in-house training in our company to talk about these things, you can definitely send us an email. So, pwede nyo ipakita sa kanila yung different topics na we discussed in our YouTube channel. So, we're gonna send the links in the chat box as well. So, please make sure that you've subscribed and turn on the bell button. So, pag may mga bago kaming posts, you will definitely see those as well. So, I'm flashing the QR codes on the screen for the last time. Mari is also going to share the links in the chat box. Make sure that you screenshot nyo na kasi those will only be open until 5 o'clock since we were able to give them to you at around 4:30 this afternoon. So maybe we will extend around 5 to 10 minutes pa so that we can give everyone time to answer our evaluation forms. So we hope you enjoyed our discussion this March, and we hope to see you all in April because we are going to talk about elevating leadership through positive psychology. Follow us on Facebook for more announcements, and we hope that you all have a meaningful Holy Week ahead. Thank you so much, everyone, and see you all next month.